Tetzaveh. We are in Parat Tetzaveh Synagogue. Thank you again to Mayor Gabbai and Jonah Hari for arranging the shiur. I'd like to dedicate today's shiur L'Ilui Nishmat Rivka Bat China and להבדיל בחיים טובים ונבקש רפואה שלמה for Gabrielena מבתי המלכה, Elisha בת Shel בת Rivka, also for my mom. Today she had the operation. And Baruch Hashem, she's come out of the operation and she's recovering. So we hopefully have good news and so I would like to dedicate the shiur for Shlema for all this Israel. It's a very exciting parasha. If you want to take your chumash, just reading the first pasuk of Ve'ata Tetzaveh. Last year we spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned over here. It's just his Ve'ata. But let's study together the first pasuk. Ve'ata Tetzaveh et bnei Yisrael v'yikchu elecha shemen zayit zach. Yeah, what's your name?
כבוד גדול.
Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned, but your name is mentioned. So you should feel honored in that. Zayit zach katit la'mor la'alot ner tamid. So let's just translate what the pasuk means. V'ata tetzaveh, you Moshe Rabbeinu, command bnei Yisrael, the children of bnei Israel, Am Yisrael, the people of Am Yisrael, v'yikchu elecha. What does it mean v'yikchu elecha? What does it mean v'yikchu elecha?
Take to you, like that.
Take to you. The meaning means to bring to you.
Yeah.
V'yikchu elecha, to bring to you. Shemen zayit zach, the shemen or olive oil. What does zach mean?
Pure.
The pure. Now, the zayit zach is even more special than pure, because pure means it's olive oil and it's not mixed with other oils. That's what pure olive oil means, virgin olive oil. It just means there's only olive oil. But that in the Torah, when it says shemen zayit zach, doesn't just mean pure olive oil. It means the first drop of the olives. It means when you squeeze the olives, the first drop that comes out, that's shemen zayit zach. Afterwards, you squash it, you squish it a bit more, and then the later drops come out afterwards, and you press it. Then that is a second level of shemen zayit, and it's a bit less, right? It's less quality in olive oil. So the Torah is saying shemen zayit zach katit lamor. That which you squash for the ma'or, the first drops, that is the purest, the best of olive oil. That's for the ma'or, for the light. And I saw in the Kli Yakar, there's a beautiful message from here. He says, when you're giving for the ma'or, for the Bet HaMikdash, you give from the best, right? It's like the story of Cain and Hevel. When Cain gave from his best, he kept for himself, and then the second best he gave to the Mikdash. But Hevel, he gave his best and said, when you give to the ma'or, when you give to the Kodesh, when you give to the Knesset or the Yeshiva, whatever you're giving to, you give the best. And that's what we learn from here is kadit lamor. That's what gives lamor is the light of the menorah. Lahalot ner tamid, to bring out the ner tamid, which was the light in the Bet Mikdash. Now, very interesting, in the Mishkan, the menorah was lit, but the menorah was not for light. Hashem doesn't need light in the Mishkan. It wasn't like nowadays we have lighting, and those days they had candles. Now, the menorah was for the kavod and represented the limud Torah. And very interesting, in the Bet HaMikdash, the windows that had in Bet HaMikdash were open, and they were narrow on the inside and wide on the outside. Normal window in the olden days, before they had glass, what did you do? You had a small slit as a window, and in the wall you used to get wider, right? I don't know if you can imagine. It's like a slant. There's a small window outside, and it gets bigger. Why? It's to let light in. The window used to let light into the house from outside. So there's a small slit in the window, and it opens wider. But in the Bet HaMikdash, it was the opposite way around. It was thin on the inside, and it used to get wider on its way out. Because in the Mishkan, light from the menorah came out towards you. And that's what we see from there. Well, let's do the next pasuk, Kaf Aleph. Mo, you with us? You want to read the second pasuk?
Yes. באוהל מועד מחוץ לפרוכת אשר על העדות יערוך אותו אהרון ובניו מערב עד בוקר לפני השם חוקת עולם לדורותם מאת בני ישראל.
There is Boel Moed, that is where the Mishkan was. Mechutz Parochet, outside of the Parochet was the screen that separated it. Asher Edut Yaroch Oto Aaron. That's where he used to put the menorah. Ubanav me'erev ad boker. From evening till morning. Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, Chukat Olam. That is the obligation. Olam is forever, always. The Dorotam, for generations, met Bnei Israel. Now, I want to turn your attention to a specific part of the passage. What does it say? V'ikchu elecha Shem Zayit. Who's elecha? What does it mean, V'ikchu elecha? Gilad, who's elecha? V'ikchu elecha.
To Moshe.
Exactly, to Moshe. Why is Hashem saying that you take the Shem and Zayit and you bring it to Moshe? This is a question of the Netmah. You command Bnei Israel and tell them, take the Shem and Zayit and bring it to Moshe. What do you mean give it to Moshe? Everything in the Mishkan is given to the Moshe. You don't have to mention over here specifically give to Moshe. Give it to whoever's in charge of the building, the Mishkan. Bring it to the Kohanim, and then they can deal with it.
To Aaron specifically.
Moshe. Yes, Gilad?
No, or more specifically to Aaron.
To Aaron, who's lighting. Okay. Wait, you have to forgive me for a second, and just need to plug in the laptop. Batteries dead also. Okay. So, or give to Bezalel, who was in charge of building the Mishkan, or to Aaron. Why did you give it to Moshe? And why is it specifically the Shem and Zayit? So, I had two beautiful answers, beautiful explanations. And the first explanation is like this, that when you're collecting for the Mishkan is a place of Ashrat HaShekhinah. It's where you see the presence of Hashem. Hashem's presence is in the Mishkan. So you're donating different things, right? So person donates the Aron HaKodesh. Wow, that is the Kedusha, that is the Shekhinah. So what's the explanation? Is when you're bringing something big to the Beit HaMikdash and you see it's clear, you see the importance of the donation. You donate to the Aron HaKodesh. You donate to the not something wow. Something simple like the Shem and Zayit. And you think, what's that worth? What's so special about that? So Hashem said over here, you bring it to Moshe. Tell Bnei Israel, you bring in the Shem and Zayit, you have to bring it to Moshe. That's a big wow. Bring it to Moshe Rabbeinu, something special. You have to teach them the lesson, even something small, something simple. But if it's Kodesh, you see it has magnitude of importance, you have to bring it to Moshe Rabbeinu himself. And this is really the message of the Torah in every aspect. Even the smallest thing, the importance of them, the mitzvot. The smallest detail in mitzvot can make a big difference and big change. Even a small amount of kedusha. Then you a story. There's a story of a professor, Yaakov Bard. He was a big physician, very famous in Israel. And he was in the Beit facing on Tel Aviv. And he was big Bal Tshuva. And he tells a story of how did he come to Tshuva. He was a big professor, successful. What made him Choser B'Tshuva? He says it was a sticker. It was a bumper sticker. He was there he was stopped by a traffic light. And then he sees a sticker in Hebrew, and it says "Adoeg leshana, zoreach chita." I mean, somebody who's worried, who's concerned for a year, he plants wheat. Why? Because wheat is flour, and that's how you make bread, and it can feed you for a year. So if you worry about your future and you worry about the year ahead, then you plant a field of wheat. So it's someone who is הדואג לשנים. He worries for the future of many years. Then he plants an orchard. Because if you plant trees, then trees, they grow fruits every year. But if you plant wheat, 1 year you have a flour and it lasts for a year. But then the next year you have to plant again, and you have to work hard at the field and harvest it again. And every year you have to harvest the field afresh, planting and harvesting. But if you plant trees, then trees, once you plant them, every year they grow fruit again on their own. So if you are concerned for the future of the years, then you plant orchard. And he was fine with that. And then he got to the third line. And the third line was, הדואג לדורות מחנך את בניו. What does that mean? He said somebody who is concerned for the future of generations, then he educates and teaches his children. And then he started thinking, he said, I came to Eretz Israel and I came to a kibbutz, and I planted fields and I planted orchards. He said, but what about generations? What am I teaching my children? He says, what's life all about for me? He says, okay, I'm making money, and then I look where to go on holiday and how to spend good food and how to enjoy myself and go to shows and go to different places of enjoyment. But what's life about? What am I teaching my children? How to enjoy life? That's what it's about. And it got him thinking about what's the meaning in life. What was the purpose of? He was looking for meaning and purpose. And he went on his search, and he found, that the Torah and the beauty of the Torah and the meaning in the Torah and the Judaism. And he came back, and slowly he became a big Baal Teshuvah. And he said, what made me turn around? It was just a bumper sticker. Someone took a sticker and put it on his car. That's all he did. A tiny thing. It was a simple, small act. But because of that, he was Chozeh B'Teshuvah, his whole family, his children, generations. Everything made a big difference just because of this one little bumper sticker. And that's the message of Shemen Zayit, of the Ner Tamid. He says the important is, Ata tetzaveh v'yikchu elecha, take to Moshe Rabbeinu, they should take to you, because they have to appreciate the importance of even the small thing of Shemen Zayit. They need to make a big thing, making Aron HaKodesh. No, just make it light. Small thing, Shemen Zayit, a bumper sticker, and you can make big things. That's the first lesson that we learned from this week's Parasha. Any questions? Okay. We continue?
בבקשה.
Okay. So let's continue. Another lesson that we can learn from it is from Moshe Rabbeinu. What was Moshe Rabbeinu's upbringing? How did Moshe Rabbeinu grow up? Where did he grow up?
The palace.
He grew up in a palace. So think about it. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was actually born to a family of tzaddikim, miyuchasim. His father was Amram, his sister was Miriam, Aaron. Everyone was Kedoshim. But where did he grow up? In the palace of Paro, in the Makom Shel Tum'ah. So instead of being surrounded by Kedusha, with his father Amram and tzaddikim, he grew up with his years of growing and developing as a person in the palace of Paro, full of Tum'ah. And then he went to Yitro, and he comes back after many years. And Hashem says, you are the leader of Am Yisrael. You are going to bring the Torah to Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu. What about Aaron? Aaron, he stayed there, he was pure. He didn't grow up, he stayed in Mitzrayim. He didn't see anything. And he says, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to teach Am Yisrael what happens, what can come out, what goodness can come out of going into a difficult place. He said, Shemen Zayit, olive oil comes from olives. What's olives? If you ever seen an olive tree fresh, the olives, they're very bitter. Mar. They're black, they're bitter, they're marim. And he says, what do you do with the olives? You take the olives and you crush them and you squeeze them, and comes out of it a beautiful olive oil. The oil is olive oil is one of the most healthiest things that you can eat. It's very good for the body, absorbed by the body. It's some medical experts call olive oil the green gold, because it's naturally very good for the body. And the olives are very bitter. It's very difficult to be absorbed by the body. 1 second. Okay, sorry, I'm back. And also, olives itself is a segula to forget the person's learning, the olives themselves. But if you add olive oil, it changes it, and it's a segula for memory, zikaron. So you see that it's really two opposites. How do you see that? How can you have something which is bitter and dark, and it comes and you squeeze it and you squash it, and it comes to olive oil, this pure oil it's so good for the body and it's healthy, and it's a segula for zikaron, and it's memory, and you can light it and it burns beautifully. It's one of the most the best oil that you can light with for Nerot Shabbat is Shemen Zayit. So how does that change? And you see, that's the answer of the Zayit. When you crush and you squeeze it, it comes out something pure. And that is what you see from Moshe Rabbeinu. What do you see from Moshe Rabbeinu? The Torah is telling us, learn from Moshe. A person, if he grows up in a palace of Tumah, of Paro, and his difficult challenges, and then he escapes from the palace and he goes out, and he's crushed, and he's very difficult, and he's after suffering, but out of that can come the best goodness. Out of the most difficult times can come the best results. And that is why it says, V'yikchu elecha. Because Hashem says, I want Am Yisrael to learn from you. They need to take a lesson from you. They need to take a lesson from this Shemen Zayit. How do you make olive oil from compressing the bitter olives, which is difficult, and it's difficult for the memory, and it's difficult segula, and it tastes bitter, but you crush it and you squeeze it, you get the best thing, the best olive oil comes out of it. The goodness comes out. Out of the bad comes good. Because you need to teach them, Moshe, they need to learn from you. Because look at a difficult background you came from, and what good came out of it. And that was a lesson of the olive oil. That's why it says bring it to you, because they want you to learn from you. That if someone does something, goes through difficult times, and he makes it, that's the best things can come out of that. And the Zayit it represents the Chokhmat Torah. Shemen Zayit is also is an analogy to Torah. And every Jew needs to learn from Moshe Rabbeinu. I'll tell you a beautiful story. This is unbelievable. I did not believe this when I heard this story. I heard this from Rav Goel El Karif. He tells a story. There was a man in New York, and he was an agent. He was a salesman, and he had to sell a product, and it wasn't going for him at all. It was going very bad, and he said he has to make a sales. And he asked one of the experts in America, what should he do? And he said, go and fly to Japan. Fly to Japan. He said he's never been to Japan before, doesn't know why, but they told him to go, so he took a ticket and he went to Japan. Are you with me, Gilad?
Yes, I think Joe just joined.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome, Joe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
He's flying to Japan, and he's sitting next to him on a plane is the Japanese guy. And he's sitting there, and he's he's in business class, and they're serving the meals. Now the business class, they get fancy meals, right? It's not just there's no sandwiches, there's very fancy dinners, and this man, he's a religious man from New York, and he takes out his kosher meal, and his kosher meal, is a little foil tray which is wrapped in silver foil and wrapped in plastic with stickers on it, and this Japanese guy looks at him, he's a respectable person, and he looks at him and says, what are you eating? He says, why are you having that? No, this is kosher. He said, why are you eating that? There's amazing food there. You got to try this menu. And he says, no, I don't need that. He says, you don't know what you're missing. You're missing out. I'm enjoying it. This is amazing food. He says, yeah, but I'm kosher, I'm Jewish, and I eat only kosher food. So the Japanese guy turns to him and he says, what do you mean? You're on a plane. No one's here. You're not in a community. No one can see what you're eating. Eat what you want. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the meal. And he says to him, listen, this is how I grew up and this is what I eat. And even if no one's here to see me, but Hashem always can see me. God is always with me and God can always see what I'm eating. And this is my faith and this is what I eat. He says, okay, so have wine. What are you drinking? There's wine. There's amazing wines here. Then you can have as much as you want. First class. And he says, no, we don't drink wine. Jewish. This is what we drink. This is what we eat. And he says, it doesn't matter if no one's watching me. Hashem can see me, and I'm not eating it. Okay. So the Japanese guy thought it was a little bit strange, but he let him eat what he wants, and he is enjoying the meal. And during the flight, they end up talking a little bit, and you know how you make friends on the plane. So they made friends. And then the Japanese guy, he said, what you're here for? I'm here to sell a product. So, I came from America, I'm stuck with a product and I need to sell it. So he says, listen, take my number. If you need any help in Japan, I'll try and help you. So he says, okay, thank you, very nice of you. He took his card and put it in his pocket and he got off the plane. What can this guy help me? I'm in Japan, I need to sell a product. Doesn't know what he's doing. Okay. He says he's there for a month. And he's trying for a month and he goes to all the places where they trade. And he brings his products and he shows them. And no one is interested. Wherever he goes, everyone just says, no, we don't need this. We have better products. We've got cheaper products, better quality and less money. And no one was interested. And he was just walking around and it was just like disgraced. Like he went nowhere. He actually sold nothing. He was there for 1 month. And every day he was working very hard. He went to all the different places of trade. And no one was interested in his product. And he actually felt, he was broken. Like he had all his hopes, high hopes on this business deal. On the last day, he's packing his bags, thinking he's got to go back home. And then he sees in his pocket the card of the Japanese guy on the plane. And he says, what have I got to lose? I'll pick up the phone. I'll see maybe he can help something. He's a Japanese, maybe he can help something in the end. So he picks up the phone. He says, hello. He says, yeah, do you remember me from the plane? They gave me a card. And straight away, he says, wow, where have you been? I've been looking for you. You didn't give me your number. Why didn't you call me? I've been waiting for you for a month. He says, come to my office and I want to speak to you. So he says, okay, fine. He doesn't understand why. He goes to the office. And which office does he go to? He goes to the building, the Sony building in Japan. There's a big Sony building, very tall, fancy building in Japan of Sony. And he's like very impressed. He's never seen such a massive, fancy building. He goes in and he takes him up. He said, I'm looking for this person. And he said, this is the person of the director of the Sony company in Japan. He goes into his office and he's blown away. And the director says to him, listen, I was with you on the plane. And the reason why I flew to America is because we had problems with our company, Sony company branch in America. The manager, the director of the company in America, he was caught that he was taking funds from himself from the company. And he's basically stealing from the company. And I went over there to sort it out. And basically, we need the new manager to direct the company of Sony in America. And we needed somebody who's hardworking, but more importantly, who's honest. Someone who's genuine, who's integral. Someone who's trustworthy, that we can trust with the company. And I was so impressed with you on the plane. And I saw how you were so committed to your religion, that you weren't persuaded by any types of food that they were serving and all the wines. And even though no one was looking, and he said, we decided that we want you to be the manager. And I'll be looking for you for a month and I want you to take it. There's a big salary involved. And there's also you get commission for the sales. And we want you to take the job. And he couldn't believe his luck, his mazal. He thought everything was going bad and everything was going difficult. But then the biggest Yeshua came out of it. Unbelievable. He landed the biggest job of his life. And where did it come from? From on the plane, when he couldn't eat his food, his eyes were popping out. He looked at everyone else what they're eating, and what is he eating? And he said, no, I'm not, I'm doing the right thing. He said, I'm just staying faithful, and Hashem guides. And you see from this beautiful story, it's an amazing story, but you see that if someone does the right thing, Hashem pays him back. Hashem's going to watch out for you. You never lose by doing a mitzvah. And if it's difficult mitzvah, then you remember the zayit zach. Remember the olive oil. When you squeeze the olive, it comes out the olive oil. You squeeze the olives, comes out the pure, the best olive oil. That's when you need to do it. And that's Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is compared to the olives. And when you squeeze the olives, then the best thing comes out of it. That's when you moser nefesh, when you go do something for a mitzvah where it's difficult, you see the biggest hatzlacha. And that's what you see from Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's why the pasuk says, "Vayikchu elecha," take to Moshe Rabbeinu, to you, because they need to learn from you, Moshe. How did you grow up? What was your background? And where did you end up? And you see the Jew, when he has any difficulty in his background, in his life, in his upbringing, but he takes it with his stride, and he comes out the best, the pure, the best comes out of it. There's a story of the Mir Yeshiva. The Mir Yeshiva was in Poland, in Lithuania, and they moved in the war to Shanghai. And later on, they came to America. And Rabbi Yecheskel Levenstein, he was the mashgiach of the yeshiva. And when they came back, the yeshiva boys, after the war, they were all skinny. They were all, they're just very thin. And everyone was looking at them. And he says to them, just don't look at them now. Look at their Torah. Look how they studied. They studied through difficulties. It was very difficult for them in Shanghai. There were poor conditions. They didn't have enough food. They lost a lot of weight. And they came to America very skinny. And he says, this is the olive oil. Don't look at the olive, but look what comes out of the olive. It was very bitter for them. It was very difficult for them for a period of years. But out of that came the best thing. And you look at today, Mir Yeshiva is the biggest yeshiva in Israel, maybe in the world. Thousands of students studying Torah. But all of that comes from the difficult beginnings. Because when there's a difficult beginning and the Jew goes through difficult times, the best thing comes out of them. The pasuk says in Yirmiyahu, the pre-Torah, the Midrash says that Am Yisrael is compared to Shemen Zayit. Am Yisrael is compared to olive oil. When you squeeze it and you crush it, the best things comes out of it. And okay, I'm going to tell you. Yeah. The Midrash says, why is Am Yisrael compared to olive oil, to olives? You see that many times in the Tehillim and in Midrash says that the Am Yisrael is compared to olives, to Zayit. And the Midrash says because when you squeeze an olive, even though it's bitter and you squeeze it, comes olive oil. So the Khatam Sofer asks a question. He says, if you have a child and he's a good boy, right? So he's a good boy. If you have a child and you need to get, snap him into shape, you need to punish him to get him into straight. So that's not a good boy. He's a bad boy. He says, why do you see that Am Yisrael? Why is that good? That Am Yisrael needs to be punished and to put them straight. So we're in Chodesh Adar. We're coming up to Purim. So talk a little bit about Purim. The Gemara says in Megillah, why was the generation of Mordechai and Esther punished that all of Am Yisrael would need to be wiped out in one day? The Haman wanted to kill every single Jew all in one day. Why is that? What did they do wrong? What was the Jews doing wrong? And the Megillah tells us, because they benefited from the Seudah of Achashverosh. They went to join the meal of Achashverosh. He had a big party and all the Jews went. And because of that, they all had to there was a decree that they all got killed in one day. Hashem wanted it. to them all to be punished, and they would be killed in one day. Until they did teshuvah, and then Hashem saved them. But that was the story of Purim. Now the question is, what did they do wrong? What's wrong with going to the party? There was kosher food at the party. There's kosher wine. Mordechai was there. They went. And they were punished because there's some places a Jew should not go to. Even if it's kosher food, you don't go there. What was wrong with the party? Achashverosh made a party with the Klei HaMikdash. He took all of the kelim, all the vessels from the Beit HaMikdash, and he was showing them off. He actually wore the begadim of the Kohen Gadol, saying that he's the Kohen Gadol, and he's better than them. He took him out all the vessels of the Beit HaMikdash. He was showing off his riches and his treasures. And he was celebrating the end of 70 years. Hashem promised that after 70 years of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, they would rebuild another one. And it passed 70 years, according to his calculation of Achashverosh. And he was celebrating the fact that Hashem did not keep his promise to his people. That's what his party was about. He said, how can you, Am Yisrael, go and join a party when somebody is celebrating that Hashem does not keep his promise to redeem his people? That's not a place where you should be going to. It doesn't need to be written in the Torah. It doesn't need to be non-kosher food. But if you see somebody celebrating that, that's not a place for a Jew to be. He said, why are you going to this party? That's what they were punished for. So the question is, okay, all the Jews in Shushan that went to the party, they were punished. But what about all the Jews of the world? They weren't in the Shushan party. So that the Gemara says that they were punished because they bowed down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, when he destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, he ruled over the whole world. And not only over the whole world, but the Midrash says he ruled over the animal kingdom. And they said that he used to ride a lion, Yarochev al Aryeh, and with a Mashot Shel Nachash, he took snakes and he tied them around the lion, and he was riding on the lion holding the snakes in his hand. That means he was ruling over the animal kingdom. That was Nebuchadnezzar. And he had tremendous power and glory, and he made the image of himself. And he made an image of himself and told everyone, bow down to the image. Not Avodah Zarah, but just respect my image of the king. Everyone should go bow down and pay respects to the king. And all the Jews were scared. This is a scary person. Can you imagine him? He's riding a lion and he's holding snakes, and no one wants to start with him. He's the biggest ruler. So okay, everyone respects and bows down to the idol of Nebuchadnezzar. And the Jews should not bow down to the idol. And because they bowed down later on in the time of Mordechai and Esther, that's what they get punished. They get nailed for both things. So the Khatam Sofer, he says, okay, if they bowed down, why didn't they get punished then? So he explains there was 3 tzaddikim. Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah. They did not bow down. They weren't scared of Nebuchadnezzar. He says, we don't care, we're not going to bow down. He said, if you're not bowing down, I'm going to throw you in the fire. He said, we don't care. You want to throw us? We'll go. He says, okay, throw them in the fire. And what happened?
It was not Daniel?
Daniel was there, but he wasn't one of the 3 that went in. Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah, they went into the fire. And it was a miracle that they did not get burnt, and they're walking around the fire, and Nebuchadnezzar was blown away, and he sees that what a miracle will happen, and he took them out and he saved them. And because they were Moser Nefesh, all of Am Yisrael was saved and was not killed at the time of Nebuchadnezzar, because of these 3 tzaddikim. But later on, in the time of Mordechai and Esther,
as I know, he also wrote, because of that, he wrote the song Yaribon, Alma.
Oh, so very good. So he actually sang praises to Nebuchadnezzar, sang praises to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shirot and Tishbachot that even David HaMelech did not sing. And all of that came from the major Kiddush Hashem of the bitachon that the Jews had in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they didn't bow down to the idol and they were willing to throw themselves in the fire. So the question is like this, that why was everyone saved at the time of Purim? In the time of Purim, they were punished again because they went to the meal and the party of Achashverosh. Why? They were scared. But what do you mean, why are you scared? Did you not learn the message from Mishael and Hananiah and Azariah? They went into the fire and nothing touched them. Who are you scared of? You see Hashem does miracles for those who stay by Him. So then, okay, you all bow down because you were scared. But once you see Hashem does a miracle, you should trust that. You didn't learn that lesson. If you didn't learn the lesson from Mishael, Hananiah, and Azariah that they went into the fire for not bowing down, then on Purim, everyone gets punished again. So the Gemara says, okay, why did they get saved? And he said they get saved because they really weren't bowing down. They didn't really go do Avodah Zarah. At the time of the party, so they were persuaded, there's good food, there's good there's atmosphere, there's wine. Okay, they couldn't control themselves. But why did they have to bow down? So they didn't really bow down. And so because they didn't really bow down, that's why they didn't really get killed. They just were scared, and Haman, Haman threatened to kill them. They didn't actually kill them. And the Khatam Sofer says, you learn something very special from here. He says, even though in the time of Mordechai Tzaddik, there was a big gezerah and decree to kill all the Jews. What did they do? They said, listen, we're going to be killed. We have to do teshuvah. So why were they chozer b'teshuvah? Because they love Hashem or because they were scared that they're going to be killed? Because they're scared they're going to get killed by Haman. So Khatam Sofer says, why is Hashem interested in the Jew that does teshuvah only because he's scared of being killed? This is not a Jew that loves Hashem. It's not a Jew that comes to the Skype shiur and listens to Torah because he loves Hashem. He keeps mitzvah because he loves Hashem. He's a Jew, he's scared of being killed. So Khatam Sofer says a beautiful lesson. And this is the connection with our parasha. And he says, every Jew, Hashem loves every Jew and wants every Jew. And even if he is a sinner and he falls and he does avodah zarah and he bows down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar, or he goes to the party of Achashverosh, but in his heart he's a real Jew and he has a kedusha, he has holiness, and every Jew has purity and holiness inside him. And Hashem says, when I give a Jew a little bit of pressure, I make it a little bit difficult, a little bit of slaps, makot, then his pure neshama comes out. Like the olive is bitter, it's black, but you crush it, you squeeze it, the purest oil comes out of it. And he says that's what you see in Pasuk David HaMelech said in Tehillim. Ve'od me'at ve'en rasha. If you look in the Perek Lamed Zayin, this is also Rabbi Nachman talks about it in the Likutei Moharan. This David HaMelech said a pasuk, Od ma'at ve'en rasha, vitbonanta. If you look at a Jew, even if he's a rasha, you look at him, you find the goodness in him, and you see al mekomo ve'eneno. There's no rasha there anymore. Now, I have to tell you the story. Maybe I mentioned it before in the shiur, but one of my mom's good friends is Etty from Los Angeles. And Etty from Los Angeles, this is 40 years ago, this story. She didn't have any children. And she wasn't even religious at the time. And I just want to show you a lesson we can learn from someone, a Jew. He's not even religious, but you see how Hashem loves every Jew and does miracles for every Jew. 1 second, please. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niya bidvaro. Etty had no children, and she wasn't religious, and she went through treatment. She went through different treatments to try and have children. And it didn't work. And whatever she tried, the doctors, they told her different things. And, her husband was already getting nervous or concerned, maybe despondent. And they had some friends. There was gathering, and they came, they invited some friends around for dinner. It wasn't Shabbat or Chag. They just had some friends around for dinner, a couple of friends. And she said that my mom was there. Bezat Hashem should be a refuah shlema for her as well. Etty was in the kitchen, and she overheard the guests, speaking they were in the lounge on the couches, and they were telling her husband, don't worry, she's getting now these new pills. The doctor prescribed these new pills for fertility. Take the pills, and you're gonna have kids with them. And they were telling her husband, don't worry now with the pills. You're gonna have a child. And she overheard it. And she came into the room. She stood on a chair. She took the pills in her hand. She stood on a chair and she smashed them on the floor. She smashed them on the floor, and then she crushed them with her heels. She had like boots, and she crushed them with the heels, and then she screamed, And she said, no pills are going to help me to have children. Nothing is going to help me to have children. If Hashem wants me to have children, I'm going to have children. I'm not taking any stupid pills and listening to any doctors anymore. Nothing's going to help me. I'm not going to have children unless Hashem wants me to have children. That's what she was screaming. And everyone was looking at her, and she was crying when she was saying it, and she was, overwhelmed with emotion. But you saw she was very genuine, and and all her friends came around, calming down, and Etty was going to be okay. And my mom said that Etty had 2 beautiful girls, baby girls, naturally, with no treatment, nothing. And you see Hashem, He does miracles for every Jew. He said, if you're just genuine and you turn to Hashem, she wasn't even religious at the time. I don't know if she's keeping, I don't know what level she was keeping. But she really believed in Hashem. And that was the story of the miracle, that the Jew inside him, he's got the holiness. He has a spark. I'll tell you another story, which I had from Rabbi Rosenblum. And there was a Jew in Europe, and he grew up completely like a goy, non-Jew in every single way, like nothing and nothing, eating everything, like a goy, living with the goys, no kippur, no nothing, no smell of the Jewish, no mezuzah on his door, nothing. And he had a very good friend, goy, and he was the only person that actually knew he was Jewish. And but apart from that, no one knew that he was Jewish. He lived with a goy, he married the goy, all his friends were goyim. Never stood inside a synagogue, nothing. He had no friends which were Jewish. That's how far he was. He had no actually Jewish friends. And when the Germans came to the town, they killed all the Jews in the town. And apart from him, because no one knew he was Jewish. Apart from his best friend, and he went and told the Nazis, where this Jew, he actually became Rosh Ha'ir. He became the mayor of the town. He was a very successful as a member, and he actually rose to be the mayor of town. He was the Rosh Ha'ir. And obviously his non-Jewish friend was jealous of him and his success, and he told the Nazi that this guy is Jewish. And he's like, what do you mean I'm Jewish? He's not Jewish. Well, what do you mean he's Jewish? He doesn't look Jewish, he doesn't smell Jewish, he doesn't have anything to do with Judaism. He's married to a non-Jew. So the officer said, you know what, let's test it out. Let's check it out. So he took the mayor of the city, and he said, come with me into the synagogue. Now, this is the guy, never steps foot inside the synagogue. Yeah. And the Nazi opens Aron HaKodesh. He takes the Sefer Torah and puts it on the floor. Yeah. Chas v'shalom, you should never see such a thing. He puts the Sefer Torah on the floor, opens it out, and he tells the mayor, okay, now stand and trample on the Sefer Torah. Step on it. And the mayor turns around and he said to him, you shoot me, and I'm not going to do this. Shoot me. See, this Jew, he never did anything in his life Jewish. And he was willing to die and take a bullet and not step on a Sefer Torah. See, that's what you see every Jew, he has that spark inside him. He has that Shem and Zayt inside him. He has a Torah and a Kedusha. And he doesn't have far. He's married to a Goy, never did anything Jewish, never walked inside the Torah. He said, I'm never going to do this thing. And he said that's the Shem and Zayt. That is the Jew. Wherever you see, whatever life is difficult, whatever it's, however far away he is, but you just pressure him a little bit, and he comes back to the Jewish side. That's the beauty of the Jews. We have one time for one more story. We'll end off with this story. There was a story in America, and there was a shiur Torah for businessmen. Every morning they start the day the Torah way. Torah way, start your day, businessmen, before they go to business, they start the Torah. So who goes to the shiurim every day? Which kind of business people? The religious people, the they wear a kippah, they start the day, the traditional. This is one time they comes into the shiur, He's a non-religious person. He wasn't even wearing a kippah, but they know him from business, and they say, I want to join the shiur. So they say, listen, take a kippah, sit down, enjoy. He sits down, he likes the shiur, and they're learning Gemara. Okay. He gets it, he comes again. He started coming, he started really liking the shiurim. He's a beginner. And they can see he's getting interested. So, you Jews like to bring people into the shiur. So they welcome him, be nice to him, he's got friends. He gets a little social with them. And he likes the shiur. They come to make a Siyum Masechet. I don't know if it was after a week or 2 or 3 weeks, in his beginning. And he's come for a Siyum Masechet. He says, I want to make a Siyum Masechet in my house. I want to invite everybody in the shiur to my house. So they look at him, he says, listen, very nice of you, David, to invite us, but you're not religious. We don't eat your food. He says, listen, don't eat my food. We're going to order special catering, order from a kosher restaurant in my house. I'm going to pay for it. Everyone is invited. I want you to bring the shiur to my house. So they saw he was very genuine, very, very honest, and he really wanted it. So what we're going to do for another Jew he especially is interested, he said it's a mitzvah, we want to be mekarevim, bring him close. Okay, we're going to go. So they saw in the shiur, the day they wanted to make it, every single person in the shiur couldn't make it. It was arranged for 1 o'clock, lunchtime, and everyone had like a busy schedule. They had a big business meeting at 1 o'clock, and they couldn't make it at 1. And he already arranged it, and he ordered it, and he said, try and come. So everyone said, okay, we're going to make an effort. We're going to finish the business early, and we're going to come to the Siyum Masechet. We're going to have lunch in your house. And he said, what happened that day? Everyone finished, and they only finished like at 2:30. And they all got together in a car, and they were going to drive to this person's house. And he lived out of town a little bit. And they were driving, and as they were driving, what the luck was, they started snowing. And it started heavy snow. They got stuck in the snow. They couldn't get to his house. Now it's already 2:30, and they were stuck there until they brought the tractors to clear the road from the snow. They were stuck in the traffic for a few hours, and they only got to this person's house at 7 o'clock in the evening. And they were supposed to be there for lunch, leaving at 2:30. Now, what happened was, this guy at the door, they just like knock on the door trying to apologize and say, they're really sorry, but it wasn't their fault. They were just stuck in snow. They couldn't make it. They felt really bad because they knew this person's making an effort for them. And what happened was that they opened a door and his wife was there. And his wife was not Jewish. And she didn't know, what these Jews are. And she got really annoyed. Why they're not coming? Why they're not coming to his house? He's like talking about the shiur for a long time, how it's really good, and he's enjoying the Torah, and he's enjoying the shiurim, and he wants to bring them home. And he said, they don't even show up. And I make order, and I get the house ready, and I set the table, and they're not even coming. And then she starts shouting at him and cursing him. And she started cursing the Jews. All the curses that she heard about Jews in her childhood, she started saying them now. This is goy shiksa. And she started cursing him. And then then she remembered that her husband is a Jew, and she started cursing him. He started shouting, and she started shouting at him, and she started shouting at them, and she wouldn't even let them in the house. And they just kicked him out the door. And they went back home after like 5 hours of traveling, and they came hungry. They went back home hungry, and they're just so disappointed. They felt so bad. They said such a chilul Hashem came out of it. And not only that this guy, he was coming to the shiur every day, and now he's not going to come back to the shiur anymore. After that, you invite this person to his house, doesn't even show up. His wife gets annoyed, start cursing them at the door. And they just felt really bad about the whole story. And the next day, they said, okay, he's not coming back anymore. And the next day, the guy comes back, the next day to the shiur. And he walks in, and they think that he's going to come and tell them off again. And he said, don't worry, I'm here, and I'm staying here, and I'm coming every single day. He says, what do you mean, what happened? Your wife was so annoyed, and she was so upset. We saw there was nothing to talk about. He said, you don't understand. I had nothing to do with Jews for a long time. I was married to a non-Jew, And I started coming to Torah. And I saw the beauty of the Torah and I wanted to bring it back to home. And when I saw my wife reacting like that, how she treated you, and it wasn't even your fault, you didn't do anything wrong. And she started cursing. And she started cursing all the Jews. And then she remembered me, that I was rich, and started cursing me. And I'm her husband. And this is how you're speaking to me? What have I done wrong? And she started cursing me. And we had a fight. And we started arguing. And I said, well, look at you. Where did you come from? I gave you everything. I picked you up. You were a pauper. And I gave you everything. You're up from the dumps. I picked you up. And this is how you're speaking now? And they got into a fight and they decided they're going to separate their ways. She's leaving. He doesn't want anything to do with her. She wants nothing to do with him. And that's it. The end of the wife. He said, I realized how far I went. And I didn't want a non-Jewish wife anymore. And I'm giving up everything. And he said, don't worry. I'm back in the shiur. And we're going to do the Siyum Sechet in my house. And whatever time you come, I'm going to be there. And you're welcome to come. And even if you come late, whatever time, I'm going to be there for you. And you see, look what happened. They felt so bad that this guy's never going to come to the shiur again. But because of the snow and because of what happened, he ended up leaving his non-Jewish wife. He ended up coming back to the shiur. He ended up coming back to the Jewish life. You see how amazing things can happen. And you see, that's what happens from the bitterness, from the difficultness, from whatever bad times there is. You see, Hashem has different plans. The best things can come out of it. And that's why he says, Bicho le Moshe. Because they need to learn from Moshe this lesson. Moshe, who had the most difficult background, the difficult upbringing. He grew up in the palace of Tumah. He grew up from Yitro, away from home, away from family. And he grows up to be the biggest manhig, leader in Am Yisrael. So everyone can learn from that lesson. That's really the message of the parasha. Maybe we'll end off with one small idea, because we started the shiur late today, from the Rav Chida. This week is the Shabbat. This Shabbat is Yud Aleph Adar. Yud Aleph Adar is the day of Hilula of Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai. They're one of the biggest Chachamim, Rav Chida, in Am Yisrael. And now today I went to his kever, he's buried in Yerushalayim, next to Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, and I went to pray there today for my mom, Baruch Hashem, that the operation was successful. And he says the following idea on this pasuk of the Torah. Vayikchu elecha. He says, what does it mean, Vayikchu elecha? In it says, Vayikchu elecha shemen zayit zach katit lamaor. He says, Kicha is the Torah. You remember we say, Ki lekach tov natati lachem, Torati al ta'azovu. So he explains this pasuk allegorically. He says, Ata tetzaveh, you Moshe Rabbeinu, tell Bnei Yisrael, Vayikchu elecha, that they should take to you, that means the Torah. Shem and Zayit is also referring to the Torah. We said that the Torah is pure like oil, like olive oil, and to light up. And he says, this is a Talmid Chacham. Talmid Chacham, he kills himself for learning Torah, and then he lights up the world, like the Shem and Zayit, that they squeeze him and they crush him, they kill him, the olive to bring out the oil. So to the Talmid Chacham, who he studies Torah, and he crushes himself to light up the Ner Tamid. Lahalot Ner Tamid, to bring up the Ner. Ner is Ner Neshama, because we say, Kiner mitzvah v'torah, Kiner Hashem nishmat adam. The Neshama of a person is a Ner. That's why we like a Ner for a Neshama, because the Ner represents the Neshama. And the Torah is the light. So it's a Talmid Chacham. He wants, like the pasuk says, katit lamaor, to light up the world, lahalot ner tamid, to bring up his neshama, tamid, always. Because then the Talmid Chacham, he brings up the neshama. The Talmid Chacham teaches the Torah, he brings up the neshama like the ner tamid, which lights up the world. Me'erev ad boker, because he studies Torah day and night. And the Shekhinah is rested amongst them, chukat olam, forever. Because wherever the Torah, the word Torah is, that's where Hashem is. Like the ner tamid, which says chukat olam. And he says, why is it ledorotam? Because someone who studies Torah, always the Torah will be with him. Velo tishkach mipi zaro. So he's explaining the whole pasuk referring to the Torah and the Talmid Chacham. So the Rav Chida, he says a beautiful chidush. He says, okay, someone who is a big Talmid Chacham gadol, so he has a merit. Or someone who is not a Talmid Chacham. So he gives another option. And this is what the Chida says. He says someone who's rich, ha'ashirim, they can also buy the Torah. How can they buy the Torah? And that's why he says, Vayikhu elecha shemen zayit. Vayikhu, what does it mean in Hebrew? Mekach. Vayikhu. Kicha, mekach is a transaction, is a purchase. Vayikhu. Vayikhu elecha, they can buy you. That's what the Chidah says. According to the Arizal, every Talmid Chacham Gadol has a nitzot kedusha of neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. And he says, Vayikhu elecha, they can buy you. This is what the Chidah says. They can buy the merit of the Torah. Because the Torah is called Shemen, so they can buy you by buying Shemen Zayit. By giving money to the Talmid Chacham, that's how they can become, they can buy the Torah. Because the Torah only exists in someone who kills himself while studying the Torah. Like the Katit Lamor. And then he says the Chiddush that the rich man, he can only buy Torah, which the Talmid Chacham will learn in the future. You can't buy Torah which he's already learned. So this is now, what does this mean? That you can't go find a big Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Shlomo Amar, he's the biggest Talmid Chacham, on a generation, or Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, and give them money. Why? Because they've already finished learning Torah. They already become great. You have to find him before he learns his Torah. Before he learns Torah, give him, and then in the future, when he becomes great, then you will have that merit that you buy it. So now it's very difficult. Because even if you have money, you have to know where to give it. How do you know who's going to be a great Talmid Chacham in the future? You're not going to know that. You have to guess, find somebody, maybe he's diligent, he has to kill himself to learn Torah and to become really great. It's not easy, it's very difficult. How are you going to find someone? So you have to get lucky. If you get lucky, you find someone who's done it. So there's two ways of being Zocher to Torah. Either someone who kills himself and learning Torah, or someone who's rich, he's got enough money. So he's got enough money to go and support people. So if he's rich, he can support many Talmid Chachamim, and one of them is going to become a big Talmid Chacham like Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's going to have a part of his Torah. So what about for people like us? Yeah, so people like us, we're not so rich that we can afford to give to all the yeshivot, or we're not such a big Talmid Chachamim. So what can we do? So we try our best. We try as much as we can to learn Torah, and as much as we can to support Torah, and through those maybe we become the Chidah. So this is the Devarim of the Rav Chidah. So Bezrat Hashem, let's remember the stories that we studied today. Let's remember the story of the man who ate on the plane in Japan, and he ended up being the director, and Sony the manager. Let's remember the story of the Purim, how they bowed down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar. They shouldn't have taken part in the Sauda of Achashverosh. Let's remember the story of Eti from Los Angeles. Even someone who's not religious, Hashem answers the prayer and gave her children. Let's remember that Jew who's so far away, but he was never willing to step on a Sefer Torah, because the spark of the Jew is always inside him. And let's remember the story of the Jew that started going to the shiur, and he ended up leaving his wife, who is not Jewish, because of the difficult things that happened. And let's remember, whenever there are difficult times, if we pass through it, then all the best things will come out, like we see from Moshe Rabbeinu. So I hope you enjoyed the shiur, and I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us. Hashem next week.
It was
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Good night.